If you wait even 3 days after you see those first peach blossoms open, you could lose half your fruit crop before summer even starts, and most growers don't find out until it's already too late. Before we get into exactly what you need to do the moment you spot those blossoms, if you want serious, practical peach growing tips every single week, straight from real orchard experience and not textbook theory, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because I'm going to keep dropping the exact techniques that separate a backyard tree that struggles every year from an orchard that consistently loads up with sweet, healthy peaches. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening inside that blossom the moment it opens, why so many growers accidentally sabotage their own harvest during this exact window, and the specific steps professional growers take within hours of seeing bloom to protect fruit set. By the end of this video, you'll know precisely what to look for, what to avoid, and what to do immediately, so you're not left wondering in July why your tree bloomed beautifully but gave you almost nothing to show for it. Let's talk about the reality first, because this is where most people go wrong. Peach blossoms are not just a pretty sign that spring has arrived. That blossom is the single most fragile, most valuable, and most short-lived stage of your entire peach season. You've got roughly a 7 to 10 day window where that flower is receptive, where pollination can actually happen, and where the tree is deciding, essentially, how much fruit it's going to try to carry this year. Miss this window, mishandle this window, or let outside stress hit during this window, and you don't get a second chance. There's no redo button on bloom. And here's the mistake I see over and over again, even from growers who've had trees for years. They treat bloom time as a wait and watch period. They admire the flowers, take a few pictures, and figure nature will handle the rest. Meanwhile, a late frost rolls through overnight, or the soil dries out at exactly the wrong moment, or pollinators simply aren't active because of cold, windy weather, and the blossoms that looked perfect on Tuesday are brown and dropping by Friday. Another huge mistake is over-fertilizing right at bloom, thinking you're helping the tree produce more fruit. In reality, a big nitrogen push at bloom time tells the tree to focus energy on leafy green growth instead of holding on to those delicate flowers and setting fruit. And then there's the classic mistake of ignoring the tree completely until you see fruit forming, which means by the time you actually intervene, whatever damage was going to happen already happened weeks earlier. Now let's get into why this actually occurs, and I promise I'll keep this simple. No confusing terminology, just the real mechanics of what's going on inside that blossom. A peach flower has a very narrow temperature tolerance. Once that flower opens, the reproductive tissue inside, the part that needs to be fertilized to actually become a peach, is extremely sensitive to cold. Depending on the exact stage of the bloom, temperatures anywhere between 28 and 32 degrees Fahrenheit for even a short period overnight can kill that tissue outright. The tricky part is the blossom might still look totally fine from the outside the next morning, petals intact, color normal, and you'd never know internally that the fruit-producing part has already been destroyed. That's exactly why so many growers get blindsided. Second, pollination itself is a timing game. The flower is only receptive for a handful of days, and it depends heavily on bees and other pollinators being active. Cold, wet, or windy weather during bloom keeps pollinators grounded, which means even a flower that survives temperature-wise might never actually get pollinated at all. Third, the tree itself is making decisions based on stress signals. If the tree senses drought stress, root stress, or a sudden nutrient imbalance right at bloom, it will naturally abort some of those flowers or the young fruit that follows because the tree is prioritizing its own survival over maximizing your harvest. None of this is complicated science. It's just biology reacting to conditions, but it explains exactly why the days right after you spot blossoms are the highest leverage moment of your entire growing season. So here's what professional and commercial growers actually do. And I want you to think of this less like a suggestion list and more like a checklist you run through the moment you see color on those buds. Step 1. Check your overnight temperature forecast immediately, every single night, for the next 10 to 14 days. Don't check it once and move on. Set a daily reminder if you have to. If you see anything forecasted at or below 34 degrees Fahrenheit, you need to be ready to act that same evening, not the next morning. Step 2. Have your frost protection method already prepared before bloom even starts, not after you see the forecast. This might mean frost cloths or row covers you can throw over smaller trees. It might mean setting up a simple sprinkler system that runs during the coldest overnight hours to coat the blossoms in a thin layer of ice, which actually insulates the flower tissue and keeps it from dropping below freezing. Or for larger operations, it might mean orchard heaters or wind machines that keep cold air from settling around the trees. Whatever method fits your setup and your budget, the key is having it ready to deploy within minutes, because frost events often only give you a few hours of warning. Step 3. Hold off on heavy nitrogen fertilization during bloom. If your tree needs feeding, do it either well before bud break or wait until after fruit has set and you can see peach-sized fruit actually forming. A light, balanced feeding is fine if your soil test calls for it, but skip the big nitrogen boost right now. Step 4. Support your pollinators actively. If the weather is cool or overcast during bloom, pollinator activity drops fast, so if you keep bees or have hives nearby, this is the time to make sure they're healthy and active. If you don't have bees nearby and weather is poor, some growers will hand-pollinate smaller trees using a small, soft brush, gently transferring pollen from flower to flower during the warmest part of the day. It sounds tedious, but on a smaller home orchard, it can make a real difference in fruit set. Step 5. Maintain steady, consistent soil moisture, not too dry, not waterlogged. The goal is even hydration, so the tree doesn't feel forced to abort flowers due to drought stress, and doesn't sit in soggy roots that invite root disease right when the tree is trying to direct energy toward those blossoms. Step 6. Inspect for early disease and pest pressure the moment blossoms open, because certain fungal issues and early insect pests target blossoms specifically at this stage, and catching them in the first few days is dramatically easier than trying to fix a full-blown infection 3 weeks later. Now let's actually walk through this like we're standing in front of the tree together, because I want you to know exactly what you're looking for, not just in theory. Picture your peach tree right at that stage where the buds have swollen and you're starting to see pink or white petal color pushing through. That's your trigger point. That's the moment the clock starts. Get close to the blossoms and look at the center of the flower. You should see a healthy, firm-looking pistil in the middle, sometimes described as looking like a tiny pin sticking up from the center. If that center structure looks shriveled, dark, or mushy, while the petals around it still look fine, that's often a sign of frost damage that already occurred. The flower may look pretty from a distance, but it's already non-viable. Now look around the tree for bee activity on a mild afternoon, 60 degrees or warmer, calm wind. If it's a nice day and you're not seeing bees moving from flower to flower, that's a signal you may need to intervene manually or check on your hive health. Next, run your finger gently along a few branches and check the soil a few inches down near the root zone. It should feel like a wrung-out sponge, moist but not dripping, not bone-dry and crumbly. If you're seeing petals dropping heavily within just a day or two of opening, especially after a cold night, that's very likely frost damage, and you'll want to check your temperature logs from the last 48 hours to confirm. On the other hand, if petals are dropping naturally after about a week, with what looks like a small green swelling left behind at the base, that's actually a great sign. That's early fruit set happening exactly the way it should. I want to ask you something directly here, because this really does vary a lot, depending on where you're growing. What's the lowest overnight temperature your peach trees have bloomed through and still given you a solid harvest that year? Drop the exact number in the comments, and honestly, tell me your general region too, because I want to see just how much this varies from a warmer climate to areas that deal with late spring frosts every single year. This is genuinely useful information for everyone watching, so take 30 seconds and comment your number. It helps more than you'd think. Now here's the golden tip, and this is something that even a lot of longtime home growers never think about. Most people know to protect against frost damage, but very few people account for what I call recovery humidity right after a cold night. Here's what I mean. Even if your blossoms survive a close call cold night without freezing solid, that cold stress alone weakens the flower tissue temporarily, and if the air is dry and windy the following day, you get a secondary wave of flower loss from moisture stress on already weakened tissue, and growers often blame that second wave entirely on the cold night, when really it's the dry follow-up conditions finishing the job. Professional growers watch the 24 to 48 hours after a cold snap just as closely as the cold night itself. If it's dry and windy the day after a frost scare, a light misting or a quick irrigation cycle in the morning can help that stressed blossom tissue recover moisture and hang on instead of drying out and dropping. It's a small window, it's easy to miss and almost nobody talks about it, but it can genuinely be the difference between losing a chunk of your bloom and saving it. Before we wrap up, let's go through the common mistakes one more time so they're locked in your mind, because I'd rather you hear this twice than lose fruit once. Mistake number 1, waiting until you see a frost warning to figure out your protection method, instead of having it ready before bloom even starts. Mistake number 2, dumping nitrogen fertilizer on your tree right at bloom time thinking it'll boost fruit production when it actually pulls energy away from flower retention. Mistake number 3, ignoring pollinator activity and assuming nature will just handle it, especially during a stretch of cool or wet spring weather. Mistake number 4, letting soil swing between bone dry and soaked instead of keeping it evenly moist through the bloom period. And mistake number 5, checking on your tree once during bloom and then walking away for 2 weeks instead of monitoring it daily during this short but absolutely critical window. Look, growing peaches successfully isn't about having perfect weather every single year, because none of us get that. It's about knowing exactly what that tree needs in the specific days that matter most, and bloom time is without question one of those make-or-break windows. The growers who get consistent, heavy harvests year after year aren't lucky. They're just paying close attention at the right moments and taking action before problems happen instead of after. You now know exactly what to watch for and exactly what to do the second you see those blossoms open, so put it into practice this season and watch the difference it makes by harvest time. If this helped you out, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next set of techniques, because I'm putting out real, field-tested peach growing content every week that you genuinely won't find anywhere else. And speaking of what's coming next, in the next video, I'm going to break down exactly how to thin your peach fruit once it sets, because getting this next step wrong is just as common as messing up bloom time, and it directly determines whether you get a handful of huge, sweet peaches or a tree overloaded with small, disappointing ones. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in that one.